In the Newberries, things are improving. See that cluster of Nico Canyon flowering up there? Lots of flowering going on in the more shaded spaces. Some annuals coming up. Can't believe my eyes almost. Only in the washes though, I think. Most of the shrubbery is coming back to life. If it ever went away. Condia doesn't really go away. Seen this thing flowering in December, January, all year basically. Although I'm not sure what goes on here in the summer, because you won't find me these elevations in the summer, of course. So things are improving a bit over past few excursions. It's still a very dry spring. Most things still not really responding to recent moisture. Those perennial Species are greening up oftentimes, though not that individual. So it's still a bit hit or miss. It is good to see something going on though as I walk. Ooh, those asters almost flowering, huh? And then it'll be brown again and green again. Haven't seen any annuals flowering. This is the closest. Lupinus. Other area is pretty dead. So this is still the scene outside of the washes. Probably won't do anything this year unless more rain comes real quickly in terms of the annual life outside of the washes, but it is good to see still some annuals in the washes in the Mojave. That's something making me really happy today. I thought all was lost for the annuals this year. Here's some stuff going on outside of the washes. Technically wash adjacent though, and the crests is pretty brown. Species producing new growth. Here are the ridgetops. And others not responding this year, at least not yet. Heliophyllum returning to the washes. Gotta be pretty hungry and or thirsty to take a bite out of an kind of serious. Things are getting a bit greener the higher up I go. I'm actually seeing less than flower up here. So I'm going to pass over local high point up there, go down the other side, take a potentially rugged canyon down to the lower Laughlin Valley and explore some of those lower foothills where there are definitely things sporadically in flower. See lots of greenery coming up along the washes. quite an emerald straight ahead of Hiko Spring. I'm gonna try to descend Nico Canyon. So the next one's south from Bridge Canyon, which I know has drops in it. So I'm curious if this one has drops too. And if so, I'll bypass them, come back with a rope someday. Oh, get some Plukia here. Thought we're a bit high up and dry up for Plukia. No, it's thriving. Not sure where the water is yet. Ground is damp and green in spots, but not sure where the water is yet. Got what looks like Eucrypta and Parietaria down here. It's actually in the Urticaceae, the nettle family, but it doesn't sting. Dainty herbs in the Mojave. Both of these taxa love shaded cliff faces and other alcoves and nooks. Mesquite likes water often. Man, I wasn't expecting Plukia, that's for sure. Someone planted a palm here too, which proceeded to take off. The fact that this cottonwood is fully leafed out and no annual is really in flower. I've seen a handful of Linanthus flowers only. Tells you how delayed spring is for the annuals. A lot of the crop here is invasive grass, but trash. You know, deciduous trees, they tend to leaf out after annuals of the given ecosystem have bloomed, or while they're blooming, while they're mature, while they're developed. Just enough rain came recently enough that all of the annuals are just starting in late March. It is late March. Be out here a year and a month ago, and it would have been annual heaven. A predominance and abundance of annuals last February. Just interesting things I'm realizing about long-term trends of Mojave ecosystems. Like I've said before, I've never lived out here. And it kind of takes living out here to realize these things. That annuals, for example, don't have a fixed flowering time. They'll respond when and if moisture comes, and if it doesn't, they'll respond the next year it does. I feel like more perennials were in flower by this time last year as well. I'm still grasping with understanding shrubs and subshrubs a bit better. Phenology, ecology, etc. No standing water here. You can tell there's water underground by the inhabitants, Plukia, cottonwoods no doubt, and the mesquites to a lesser extent. Plukia swiftly gives way back to Things like Encelia, Ambrosia salsula, undoubtedly some, Guttaresia, there's some Bebia. So, same old suspects. Do wonder if there'll be a pocket of water or two down lower. Do actually have some Pluchia reappearing, and Celia looks well watered indeed. Oh yeah, even some wetlands grasses there. Maybe Phragmites, maybe something else. Here's the water. Lots of honeybees attracted to the water per usual. This makes me a little nervous. Cattails. These low, hot elevations. There's even a flow. So here's the surface water. Here's the big extent of it. That's better than nothing for the Newberries, I'll tell you what. Someone needs to take an axe to the tamaricks as well. Koshiana, totally overridden with some Cuscuta too. The wild nicotines. I know for a fact that there's no continuous track through this canyon. So my big question right now is, where does the track stop and why? Sure is beautiful this very early spring day, the March 20s. Probably low 70s today. Is Pluchia making a reappearance? I do love the more rugged canyons of the Newberries. The gentler washes are kind of overridden with dirt bike tracks and such, and certainly don't hold as much interesting plant life. Things continue to become greener as I descend lower. I just saw the type of thing that makes me stop dead in my tracks, throw down the pack immediately. It's not a plant this time. And I had seen this labeled on topo maps. And that's why the track comes way down here. It's for these petroglyphs. Etchings into rock, petroglyphs. I think I see a flowering inflorescence up there. On the glyphs, that is. And then the track doesn't really continue. So the road comes down here for this. In pretty good condition for road accessibility. Means most people who come here aren't total shitheads. See that? That's an agave or a yucca stalk, isn't it? Pretty obvious why people would inhabit this place. The water. Even in a quite dry spring after the droughtiest year on record, still water here. So that's a good sign. And in the summer, maybe they migrate upwards. McCullough to the springs, who knows? None of us were here to see, and these are the records they left. That's an inflorescence, and I guess that's a snake. I guess that's more of a lizard. Gecko. I suppose geckos are within the lizards, aren't they? Not sure what these are. Sure there's decent hypotheses out there. And even knowledge passed on maybe through the ancestors. Paiutes still exist. Those must be bighorns. So now I know if I find myself living out here more years, my second spring here now, that if the winter rains don't come, then February is much better spent elsewhere, such as California, Mexico, Arizona, etc. Because spring's only starting in March this year, and that's because precip came. Sony is back this year. Our milkweed friend. You know what? I don't like seeing tamarix here. It's gonna come back. They come back from underground, but just pisses me off sometime. We can, get that one before it established. But I'm sure it's just a sucker attached to that one. Some people keep trying to drive down here, but I think we both know, you and I, that something's gonna stop them real soon. Some coward punks like to go shoot people when they get mad. May I suggest, go to Lake Mead, go have at a bunch of tamarix. You can punch it, you can slash it, kick it, you can snap it, and outside of Lake Mead you can even shoot it. Like here, totally legal to shoot the tamarix here. And see how that suits you, before you go start a rampage. Got some donks in evidence. They are much more tolerated in Arizona, I'd say. That doesn't preclude them from just skipping along into Nevada here and there. That was some old dung, though. Too rugged for vehicles now. But I'm here to see if it's worth returning with a rope. I'm about to find out really soon. Water in a cave. Pretty cool. Bet people have lived here before. You know, temporarily. Vagabonds. Laughlin. There's evidence even. Not even all that long ago necessarily. Heck, that's what I would do. Laughlin's right down the canyon. Beats living on the street corner in Laughlin. An old washed out towel. That's exactly what's happened here before. Very young and very strange condia. Flowers quite diffuse. Leaves quite broad in the shade, so important to keep in mind that species vary a lot, especially depending on whether they're growing in the shade or in full sun. That's what condia looks like in its shade form, at least young on. And if you're just looking at a pressed specimen, you may be tempted to describe it as a new species, unfortunately, if that was the only evidence you had, but clearly it's not. Yet another seep area with lots of invasive mustard and other crap, including tamarix, of course. Plukia too, gotta acknowledge. Would be nice if the Park Service, whose boundaries lay less than a mile from this point, would have the gumption start doing something about all this, because getting sick of the hypocrisy, all the proclaiming that they don't like invasive species and everything, but great portions of Lake Mead actually look just like this, invaded as heck. And to have to characterize all the watery areas of southern Nevada wilderness that way is a very unfortunate thing indeed. One good thing to be said for some of this stuff is that animals like to eat mustards. Humans like to eat mustards included. So a lot of things like to eat mustards. Best I could do with 30 seconds of effort, and again to use my arms for once rather than my legs. And my legs. It would take repeated walks and chops down here to have much of an effect. You'd have to get all the annuals kind of in that stage. But, you know, it's still a drought year and the animals are hungry, so I'm going to leave those mustards for them, you know. Salt cedar, tamarix, I'm not sure much can really eat that. But, you know, maybe some of the insect life. Arthropods. Mustards, I mean, so many things eat mustards. So I know there's a lot of hungry creatures out here. I'm gonna leave them some mustards. Looks a bit droppy ahead. Kind of hard to tell still. I'm gonna keep going though. Could be something significant right around there, or more gentle. Back in the day going down Death Valley Canyon, something around the corner like that where you could see the top of the walls could signify a 70-foot drop or a 300-foot drop. For the sake of convenience, because I know I'm near the bottom, I'm not hoping for drops anymore. You know, it's quite a haul back out of this canyon, so see what happens. Lucked out for now, if you want to call it that. It's a bit of an echo and quite a few birds yelling at me. And a seep. A mossy seep. So close to all those casinos is this. A handful of miles away from a casino. I don't think you can see them, but I hope you hear them. Swallows yelling at me up there. Hordes of them. Yeah, what a place. Swallows probably need water, huh? Isn't that a brutal life right there? The modern day stuff in contrast. It's not quite as good, is it? Not by a long shot. Switched canyons because the road began to occupy the bottom of Hiko. There's a sketchy SUV parked there. Still pretty close to Laughlin. Had to bypass a drop. Now I'm stuck with all this barren crap up here. Do you know that people live in a desolate place like this? I mean, I live in the Mojave, but 3,000 feet, it's quite a bit lusher than this. Can you imagine living in a place where things might not grow all year in your backyard? Climate's nice most of the year, though. Guess that's why they live here. Still out here and it's nightfall. Probably still end up camping out here, but in case not, and basically otherwise, because there's not that much further to go. See you later.